is een bovenpartner die bijzonder hard werkt, bijzonder hard traint. En daarmee hebben zij op korte tijd enorme progressie gemaakt.
Prachtig wat ze laten zien.
So first and foremost, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. It's nice
Yay.
to meet you. Thank you
I
so much for
know.
having
Of
me.
course, of course.
Oh,
Congratulations on running. This is a big deal. I'm very
oh,
excited for you. This is Black Girls Politickin. I'm Michaela, and today we are here with Shenea. Shenea, it's so nice to finally meet you.
thank you so much, Michaela. I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, for individuals who may not be familiar with you or your background, can you tell them a little bit about yourself and why you are running for this position?
Thank you, Michaela. Again, I'm so honored. And my name is Shenea Booth, and I am running for Nevada State Assembly in District 22 here in Henderson, Nevada. And I am a world champion acrobat and a longtime Las Vegas performer and working professional. And for the last several years, I have been organizing and fighting for workers' protections for all working professionals and entertainment professionals here in Nevada. And by doing that, I saw, something? We're looking towards safety nets for the entertainment industry. I see the pitfalls. I see how challenging it can be for fellow performers and industry workers in terms of access to healthcare and safety and and wage protection. And I saw this is all Nevadans. This is all hardworking Nevadans deserve this same level of safety net. So that's why I decided to run.
And this is exciting. I think you are definitely the first acrobat running for office that I've ever met. So this is fun. You have such a unique background and career. How did that path lead you to public office?
Thank you, Michaela. Well, becoming a two-time world champion in acrobatic gymnastics and a circus performer has taught me about discipline. It's taught me about teamwork. It's taught me about, really chasing my dreams. It's given me an ethic, a work ethic that I think in this day and age is so invaluable with how fast paced the world is, how fast paced the economy is. And it taught me so much about what it's like, to depend on yourself, and work hard when things are hard because it's a very demanding sector. It's a very demanding job. It also showed me just how demanding it is for others that I'm connected to, that I work with. I intersect with so many other industries as a working entertainment professional. And I've seen, folks having to leave Nevada, for example, having to leave the state because they're losing out on certain levels of opportunity. And I feel like being able to see that up close has really given me an x-ray vision into not only the difficulties and challenges of folks in the entertainment industry here that are dealing with all the challenges that I go through in terms of being an independent contractor or a small business, but also to working families here, retirees, veterans, working families, and young professionals.
Wow. I think for on my end, I'll say this. I've always looked at Nevada specifically through the lens of tourism, right? Like, I think when you
Mm.
think of Nevada, you automatically think of Las Vegas, you think of that tourism. So, in your life and your own experience, how has this shaped your narrative about the state and what this state needs and deserves? And how do you plan to do so in the position that you're running for?
Well, I think that Nevada is so much more now
Yeah.
than just tourism
Yeah.
because it has expanded so much. There are so many communities here now in Nevada where folks are like laying down roots
Yeah.
and starting their small businesses. They are here to retire. There are generational families here that are planting so many roots. And I think that we need to start speaking to that proactively. as representatives here in Nevada, it's not just about the impacts to tourism, but we also need to have those safety nets. We need to have proactive policies, I think, that make it possible for folks to exist and thrive, no matter what the national conversations or the impacts to tourism are here in the state. No matter how much the tariffs may be impacting, small businesses here or other, economic opportunity here in the state. And I've seen Henderson thrive over these last several years. I've seen so many new communities spring up and developments here. And it's very obvious that we need to start taking care of the locals here in Nevada, like myself, to keep us in the state, to keep us working, to keep us in good paying jobs, to keep us with benefits, to keep us with good access to education for our kids so that we can, help them, to go on to have good paying jobs, whether that be through trade or skilled labor, or if they want to, go towards a higher educational degree here in Nevada. And that's becoming the norm. Nevada, I think, will always be a transient state. But how do we support you, even if that is kind of, I think, the undercurrent of how we exist as a state? How do we support you properly than that? And I think that we can do so much better than we've been doing in the past.
Yeah, and I think with that being said, to my earlier comment, I think when we think of Nevada, we automatically think about Las Vegas, right? Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about the area? Which I mean, obviously, like that's what you hear. Like you hear Las
Yeah.
Vegas, Las Vegas, Las Vegas. And just recently, it's funny. So my current supervisor and then one of my interns, they're both from Vegas, and they've been able to tell me so much about Vegas. And I'm like, well, what about the rest of the state? Like, somebody
Yeah.
tell me about the rest of the state. So can you tell us a little bit about the demographic makeup and I guess what's really going on in the area that you're choosing to run in?
Well, in Henderson, in District 22, I would say that this is one of the fastest growing districts
Nice.
in Nevada and in Las Vegas and in Henderson. We have the phrase, on and off the strip. And
Mhm.
so we, try to tell everyone it's not all about Vegas. It's not all about the Vegas strip.
Yeah.
Many of us, we work there, but we all have our families and we have additional small businesses. We pursue education. And those are things that we do off of the strip. Folks have they have their families, they have their communities that they're existing in, just like every other state, just like every other place. I know it kind of feels a little bit far-fetched sometimes for folks when they think about Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is fun and Las Vegas is
Yeah.
great, and we want people to continue to come here and enjoy and have an amazing time. But there's also something about being able to live in your district and come home and know that you're going to have access to adequate health care, that if you're a veteran, you're going to have access to adequate health benefits, that if you want to start a family, you're going to be able to afford the home that you live in here or that you're pursuing here, that if you're, looking towards expanding who you are as a small business, that you're going to be able to take care of your employees adequately, that they're going to be able to live in the district where they work so that they don't have to leave this district. So I would say that that is the majority of the things that I hear when I'm discussing, on the campaign trail, listening to voters, listening to the families that live here, listening to the small businesses about how can I help you do better in your life
Yeah.
that is maybe sometimes impacted by the strip, but it's not only defined by the strip because we are not only defined by tourism and the strip at this point in where Nevada is going.
Yeah. I love that you said that. So I live in Texas, and I think,
Mhm.
a lot of times we hear the big three, right? Houston, Dallas, Austin. And,
Yeah.
to your point, like there's so many other small communities that are, depending upon Houston and Austin and Dallas, but they don't necessarily live there. And your representation is like what's going to be closest to home, right? So I love that you said that because yes, Vegas is great, but it's not all about Vegas. Like we also have to focus on these smaller areas that may not get as much attention. With that being said, one thing that I really love is that your campaign has talked about mental health and community safety, and these seem to be priorities for you. Where do you think the state is currently falling short? And where, if elected, do you feel like you could really do the work to amplify these issues and ultimately fix them?
Well, as a survivor of USA gymnastics,
Mhm.
Getting access to mental health resources is the reason why I'm sitting here now and running for office. It's one of my biggest motivators. It's one of the reasons why I survived the level of abuse. It's also one of the reasons why I saw my fellow survivors and those that I advocate alongside survive different levels of, very challenging and horrific abuse and, abuse within systems, abuses within structures, abuses within organizations that sometimes lack a lot of accountability. And so without these mental health resources, I wouldn't see the incredible activists and organizers that I've been fortunate to meet all of these years that have lifted up me, that have lifted up my work. And I think that we need to make sure that we continue to infuse the dollars into the safety nets and into the policies where access is easy. I hear challenges around access being very challenging around mental health resources. It can still be something that is out of folks' budget. When you're trying to make ends meet, when you're trying to get food on the table, when things are happening that are wonky with the economy, it can be challenging to utilize different levels of benefits, right? Maybe your copay is just super, super high. And maybe, again, you don't have insurance as in a traditional employment job. Maybe now you're an independent contractor. And so your insurance is not through a group effort. So you're left out of certain benefits that you need to get through your daily life, that you need to get through those stressors. And, I have seen mental health improve for folks that have access to benefits and just become incredible people. I mean, we have, tremendous impacts, I think, on our children currently, within our educational systems that we need to address with, mental health resources. They're our next generation. And again, how do we do that? Through policy reform and through also to making things more affordable and increasing access across the board for voters in Nevada, and then for families and professionals and members of our community here in District 22 in Henderson.
And to that point, I like to do deep dives on everyone that comes across this platform. We have to ensure alignment, right? And I think one thing is that you have some really incredible policy priorities outside of just mental health. You have a lot of things that you really want to get done. So for you, let's just say the first 100 days, what are your top priorities?
Thank you, Michaela, and thank you so much for, leveraging the ideas that I have because I spent years in the community here in Nevada
Mm.
talking to representatives, talking to legislatures, talking to locals, talking to industry workers, talking to folks on and off the strip in my community, outside of the community, because obviously I would be a state representative. And I think that's an important thing to remind folks when they think about what an assembly person does. We maybe are voted in by your district, but we vote on all statewide bills. So, I'm your legislator
Yeah.
too. If you're in District 21,
Yeah.
if you're in District, 29, all of those things matter. But for me, the important thing would be to go through the process, to organize those committees, to get the representatives and the advocates and the business owners and the professionals in the room to start to look at how can we create these policies from where we are now, because this is supposed to be a collaborative group effort for our voters and for folks in our community and for minds that are innovative and that are progressively looking forward. And how can we impact those policies that need to shift and move with the times that we may be existing in once I get into office as the Assembly member for District 22 in Henderson?
Yeah, and I'm curious, and this is, it's a little off script, but I'm a little curious. What has your method been like to reaching people? Like, what have those conversations looked like? How have you got into the community? And like you said, you've been doing this for a while. Like I said, I do deep dives. Okay, I get real up in there. So you've been doing this for a while, but what is your approach like? How do you get to these people? How do you get them to not only, speak to you about what's happening, but get the buy-in that you need to kind of get yourself across the finish line?
Well, I mean, you are so incredibly personable, Michaela, and so easy to talk to, and so lovely,
Yay!
and so human, and so wonderful. And I hope that I am some version of that,
No,
that I
you
have it.
are. Yeah, you really,
Thank
really are.
you.
Yeah.
that I feel that people feel that I am just like them, that
Yeah.
I live, that I am your neighbor, and that I am accessible. And I think that that is the most important thing of discussing what are the difficulties and the challenges within the community. And I'm there. I think that that's part of my overall strategy, if you will, of being a concerned candidate,
Yeah.
someone that is talking to you and listening to your actual concerns, and seeing again, what are your ideas? What are the solutions that you have that you see are not being prioritized in Nevada, in Carson City by your representatives? But I love people. I love being out in my community, and I love to listen. That's taught me so much in my life, in terms of working for workers' rights. And it's really showed me too that you really have to extend a helping hand, because when people are going through very difficult and challenging times, they're looking for someone who is present. That even if you're busy or even if you're overwhelmed, you have the capacity to sit down, look someone in the eye, and say, you know what, maybe we can't solve it all in this one conversation, but we will get there, and we will be using our resources to figure out how we can make your life better and how we can make your day-to-day impacts easier, on your life too.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. And I love that. And I think, being personable and relatable, it helps a lot in these campaigns. People hear from so many individuals, but it's really rare that the candidates get to hear from them, right? Like a lot of times we see candidates that are speaking to them, but who's actually doing the listening? So to hear that not only are you listening, but you have compiled this information and really embedded it in your policy priorities is really important. So I'm curious, right? Voters walk into the booth on election day. Why are they choosing Shenea to represent them?
Oh, that's a good question, Michaela. That is a good question.
Yeah.
Why should you elect Shenea Booth, who is a world champion acrobat, who is a longtime entertainment professional and performer in Nevada, a longtime workers' protections and safety advocate? Why should you elect her? And I think it is because I will show up for you, because I will be present. I will answer your phone call. And not only that, I will take your feedback, and I will make sure that those in Carson City are aware of not just your needs, but of your solutions. And that I am someone who is feeling the effects of the day to day impacts of life, just like you, that I am not existing in some otherworldly environment where I don't understand what you're going through. And I hope that you think that Shanae is here to help you, because that is my job. I'm here to represent you. I'm here to help your life become better. And I'm here to help you with the issues that are most relevant and important to your life in this particular moment. And then in terms of how you see your life moving forward in the future.
Well, you got my vote. If I was out there, you'd have my vote. You'd have mine. I'm convinced. I am convinced. So I have one
Michaela.
question. Yes. If I was there, y'all, I would be checking that name off the box. So I'm curious, as we close, outside of politics, outside of this campaign, outside of your advocacy work, what is something that you are most proud of? What is your biggest accomplishment outside of this campaign that you are running?
I would say it's my family.
Mhm.
My family, I think, is my biggest accomplishment. My faith also, because my faith has carried me through some really difficult and challenging times in my life, where I have felt guided and redirected so many times in ways that I didn't know if I could make it. I didn't know if I could continue. I didn't know if I could become a world champion. I didn't know if I could, survive and become a survivor of fused gymnastics. There's been so many things that faith has really carried me through. So between faith and my family, I'm so grateful, because my family is close, my family is healthy, my family is present and connected, and they lift me up every single day. And they're again the reason why I'm sitting before you, Michaela, because they have always told me that I can do anything. I can go anywhere, and I can, you know, uh, spread my wings, and I can soar as high as I want to soar. So.
I love that. Is there anything else that you feel like people should absolutely know about you that they may not find on the website, that they may not find, in the campaign calls? Is there anything else that people should just hear and they'll know like this is the person?
Probably my laugh.
Yes, I love that. Yes, because you
Probably.
still have joy. Let me just
Yeah.
say this. I want to be the one to say this. Campaigning is hard. It is tough. It is grueling. It is long. I don't know how many times we have to say it. It's not easy work. So to find people that can still laugh after doing and running a race is important. So to me, I'm all for it. Like joy, like it takes us so far. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so important. So yes, I love that. Your laugh. That's it. That's it right there.
As long as I'm still laughing, and I do my best to always be laughing through everything,
Yeah.
it is my medicine. I feel like it is the best medicine. And I feel like, again, it carries me through so much. And if you think of anything, think of the fact that she can laugh through anything, but she is also centered in a way that she is serious and she's proactive and she knows where she's headed. But through joy, like what you said, Michaela, because we can get there either through joy, through pain, or through hate.
Yeah.
And I choose
You're
joy
choosing
and
joy. I
love.
love that. So
Yeah.
let people know, how can they get involved? Where can we find you? What are the dates? Tell us all of the things related to this campaign.
Thank you, Michaela. You can go to sheneafornevada.com where you can reach out to us to volunteer. We need phone bangers. We need door knockers. We would love to have you. This is your campaign too. Our wins are yours, right? We are fighting for your needs and for your issues and your wants and your desires. Everyone listening in, you don't have to live here to canvas and door knock for Shenea for Nevada.com. You can be from anywhere because remember, I represent the state, not just Henderson, not just District 22. And those issues will be coming to your door. And I hope that we are building a campaign that feels inclusive and that feels uh, connected and it feels close to folks. And then also, too, if you have the means, whatever you can contribute, if you can go to my Act Blue for SheneaForNevada.com and please contribute that $5, that $10, that $15, and if you have more. But we don't necessarily need your money. We just would love your time, your energy, and any other resources that you can provide for the campaign so that, we are successful in our endeavors. And yeah, we do right by Henderson.
Yes, this was great, Sinead. Thank you so much. I am just so honored. I want to be the first one to say I'm talking to her before she's elected because I
Yeah.
do believe it's going to happen. And you know what? Cheers to choosing joy. Like this year, we are going to choose joy and continue to do the work. So, Sinead, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. This is awesome. I had a
Thank you
blast.
so much.
You got a purpose. What is your reason? What is your fighting for?